We're ready.
All right, we're going to call to order the Town of St. Paul Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Tuesday, November 19, 2024 at approximately 7:02. First order of business is a roll call. So Eric? Here. Bob?
Here.
Tammy?
Here.
Gary?
Here.
And Gary, here. So that's a quorum, right?
Yes.
All right. All right, the second order of business has to do with public and comments, but I don't see any public here, so
There was no
we'll move on
public
to
comments.
the third one. As part of our agenda, 3.1, take a look at the last meeting minutes from October 22nd and consider approval for those. And once you've reviewed them,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
can I have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. All right, the 3.2 is our meeting schedule for 2025. Take a look at that and consider approval for that. Once you look at it, I'll accept the motion.
We have all kinds of dates circled, I'm assuming the third.
It's this
Tuesday.
third
Tuesday would be the one circled in black,
Black,
and then
black.
council, holidays are red, and then council's blue.
And it looks like it's the same, the third Tuesday of every month for 25.
Yep.
We'll accept the motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the plan for P&Z meeting.
Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. All right, number 4 is an executive session. So the Town of St. Paul Planning and Zoning Commission is authorized by Chapter 551, Subchapter D of the Texas Government Code. The regular meeting will be convened into a closed executive under the following exceptions. Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, which will cover a legacy project, international project, and Parker project. And at this time, I guess only you and...
We are reconvening into our regular meeting.
Just open the door.
Did that do that just
So then I guess it's official, we're reconvening into the regular meeting.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then the next, number 6, work session.
Yes. I really haven't been able to spend enough time on this, quite honestly. Obviously, we've talked about going back and working on a comprehensive plan. When was the last one that was done? 2018, right around that time. I think obviously we're at a point as a town, maybe that's something that needs to be revisited. Probably in January, I'll put some options in front of you as far as different avenues of how we can approach reevaluating the town's comprehensive plan. I mean, someone can do in-house, which would be obviously quite a bit cheaper, or you can go to the bells and whistles, which can be pretty expensive. You're probably looking at $100,000 plus if you were to contract this out with a company that typically prepares comprehensive plans. And it depends upon what we all want in that comprehensive plan. But I think those are discussions we need to have sooner rather than later. I just haven't had the time to really put that proposal together to share that with you.
So, but it is something that's required of us, right?
It's required to update it. It's not that, everyone holds steadfast to that rule. But yeah, you should be updating it. Last one, if it was done in 2018, excuse me, well, we're, what, 2-3 years away from it being 10 years old. So I think it's every 3 to 5 years you should be reviewing it at least. And when you update your comprehensive plan, usually what follows right after that is an update to your zoning ordinance. So your comprehensive plan is your vision, your goals, your land use map, and then, it's your vision document. What do you want St. Paul to look like in the next 10, 15 years? Especially with Parker Road widening, Park Road extension. How's it going to impact the community, and what do we need to prepare for? So after you have your vision document, comprehensive plan, then you go back to your zoning ordinance, and you amend your zoning ordinance based upon that vision. You look at your zoning districts, you look at your zoning rules. That's typically how it follows. Your comprehensive plan, and update your zoning ordinance. It's more than just comprehensive plan, and that's how it should follow. So I'll probably come back and revisit this topic with you in January as well.
I'd be willing to donate some time to do it in-house and save the town a lot of money.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm thinking, would you not go back and review the last one and see where it is, and then see where you fell short or where you want to go further, and have a baseline instead of starting from scratch?
Mhm.
Especially if you have a plan, see what worked, what didn't work, where the
Yeah.
opportunities, and what's changed.
Part of, and again, I've been here, 4 months now, 4 or 5 months, and some of the ideas that I thought about is doing an economic model for the town. How are you going to sustain yourselves even with limited infrastructure you have? And I was also thinking about a needs assessment. So before you can get to the economic model, you need to do a needs assessment of all your infrastructure that you're responsible for, whether it's drainage, whether it's streets. And what could that ultimately cost the town in order to maintain over a 10, 15, 20-year period? So you need to understand what your needs are going to be in order to understand if you're going to develop an economic model, what are your needs, and what are you going to need financially in order to support that. And that may be something we need to address first, is a needs assessment for the town, so you know financially what is actually going to be needed in order to sustain your community.
They give you a baseline.
Exactly. Exactly.
Is this plan something that gets filed somewhere, or is it just kept in-house?
The comprehensive plan, it's something you file in-house.
You put it on your website, put it up on the wall in town hall, and people can have access to it.
Do you have any input on the comprehensive plan, or?
Just needs to be carefully thought out. I would think you would probably take, since the property that's in the ETJ has a potential for eventually being in the town, so when you're doing your comprehensive plan, you would include, if it came into the town, what you would like it to be.
Yeah, you usually do.
Yeah.
That's usually part of a land use map. Have you performed a needs assessment for the town in the past regarding infrastructure or streets and drainage, or?
I probably was a little old-fashioned on the streets. I drove the streets every week. And I would write down cracks, potholes, shoulders failing, ditches not draining. When it rained, I'd go out and drive the streets, and I piecemeal, but I stayed on top of it. And I mean, you talk to our road guy, and he would tell you, of all the small towns he works in, our roads were in better shape than, Lowry Crossing and Princeton and, Blue Ridge and all these other, New Hope and all these other small towns. Their roads were falling apart, but we did it cheap. We did it on a pretty cheap budget, but we stayed on top of the roads and kept them in pretty exceptional shape for the budget we're spending on.
Do you think that's something the town can continue doing for indefinitely, or?
Well, the town can't afford to go in and put concrete roads on, so.
Yeah. Well, not even concrete.
Yeah,
but-
we just need to maintain the roads we've got and stay on top of them. You know, the little problems will turn into big problems real quick if you don't, you know, keep water out of the road base and.
I will
make sure
say
the
this
drainage-
last big drought has taken a toll on a lot of roads,
Yeah,
especially one in front of mine. You can't go check the mailbox without tripping over it.
When Wolfpack was in here in May, we had a meeting with them in KSA, and Wolfpack did say the same thing you said, which is, in Collin County, we by far have the best asphalt roads of any town around. So that's a good starting point. So we have some council members that want pavement. They want pavement bad. And I voiced it with Scott, that my biggest nightmare in asset is Vista Oaks. Concrete's good for about 30, 35 years. This town cannot afford Vista Oaks if their roads go down. So to spend all our money on the St. Paul Road or a Cary Lane or a whatever, when you look at that, you have to predict, as Scott says, 10 years down the road, what do we want? If the asphalt roads are good, we can maintain it. I'm not saying don't do the projects he's talking about to generate a little more income, because the cost of things is just only going to go up. But we have a pretty decent little town. It doesn't need a major facelift. It needs tweaking, in my book, to continue down the road it's going. And you guys are going to be faced, Parker Road's going to throw a head spin on all of us. It just is. Everybody's going to come in here and rezone, rezone, rezone. And that's going to be you guys in the council are going to be the ones that dictate what this town looks like. So, you know, good luck.
yeah, we spent a lot of money pulling all those ditches down in Vista Oaks a few years back, just to make sure that the concrete was staying, the water was staying away from the concrete. We pulled all the
Right.
ditches and took a lot of dirt out of there and reshaped things, just to make sure that flow was, because the bottom end of that neighborhood gets a lot of water.
Well, the bottom end of y'all's neighborhood is about time for new culverts there on Lakeview, because it's generating a lot more water. So those culverts probably sediment somewhat, and it's two pretty good sized culverts, but the problem is you got the core on the other side. You're not gonna get the core to clean their side out. So the question is, how do we manage that and get that water out of your neighborhood and down that ditch? So we've got those, I call them small projects because they're not major roads, but they're expensive no matter what. So,
It may be where we want to focus on doing a capital improvement plan. You know, it looks at all infrastructure for the next 10 or 15 years. And I mean, if the answer is, you know, certain roads have a Band-Aid solution for a period of time, fine, until you're able to get the finances to do, whether it's a chip and seal road, whether it's an asphalt road, whether it's a concrete road, that's what will be determined in the future. But I think at least if we start to put a plan to understand our priorities when it comes to capital improvements and how we're going to finance them, instead of us talking about drainage improvements and, well, we got $2 million, let's go spend it so it looks like we're doing something. Yeah, we can do that, but what's the long-term goal? What's your long-term vision for everything else? And that, you know, it's not a lot of fun doing that. There's not a lot of data boys when you put that kind of effort into something. But you got to start putting the pieces in place where you're looking out for the best interest of the town in the long run and not just for today. And those are the pieces that we need to be focusing on relatively soon in order for this town to sustain itself in the long run. Because you have limited funds, and unless we're able to find other ways to bring additional revenues in, it's going to be difficult to get all these projects done.
At least not working out the red.
good point.
All right.
So are we done? Done with that discussion? Yes. Yeah, yes. All right, so the last thing is, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Well, did you want to talk about
6:13.
any topics of, I know there has been discussion about where
Oh, I see what you're saying.
some council and P and Z wanted to look at some different ordinances. Were there any specific, like a fence ordinance or a?
Well, the fence has come up multiple times, but it's hard to say where we were going to get our direction. At one point, it was coming from the council. Is
I'll
that-
see if I can dig up something to get you started on that, get you pointed in the right direction. And again, it's just a starting point, but at least we can focus on that. We had some issues that came up this week that you guys may want to address in the near future. One of them is the second kitchen issue that came up at the council meeting. So the question is, on a single-family home, should it have one kitchen? Should it have two inside? Can it have unlimited kitchens? So there's a big house going in, not far from Tammy, and that has come up.
What defines a duplex?
So that has come up as a contention. In Oak Cliff years ago, I went in many homes down there that started out as a Victorian type two-story. And over the years, they went inside the front door and they put 4 more doors and it became a fourplex. So it's something that as this town levels and rebuilds, which they're gonna start doing in your neighborhood especially, older homes, valued property, it's something that might wanna be looked at as a containment. Over the years, Bob knows, we've said, sorry, you can't have that mother-in-law's quarters separated from the house with that kitchen, because now all of a sudden, there's 2 residences on one piece of property. So it's something I think y'all need to look at, and that's a relatively, in my book, simple thing, because you're looking at one definition. I'm not saying you couldn't expound on that and put 50 in there, but that might be something worthy of a conversation. Citizens brought it up at the council meeting, so it's worthy of your time.
And it's not meant for the person who's doing the project. Scott's talking about it's in the future, because 15 years from now, property's gonna be more expensive, and maybe people can't afford to buy that piece of property. However, if I put a wall up there, and I've already got another kitchen, it's wired with 220, well, I can rent out half the house and I can afford to buy it now. Now you got a duplex. So it's not the person that's building it that's really gonna abuse your zoning rules. It's the person they sell it to that needs to generate some kind of revenue out of the property for them to be able to afford it. They're gonna turn it into a duplex if there's 2 kitchens in it.
Right, so
At some point in time.
it's just a few of these minor tweaks, if you want to call them, to start with, and then as you guys work through your ordinances and your ordinance review, hopefully that'll help. So I can help you on a couple of those topics to get you started. Talk with Scott a little bit about it, and the council as well, and they can give you a little bit of guidance as to narrowing your focus so it doesn't end up being something that spins for 3 years and never goes anywhere. So maybe we can help you out a little bit on that. The other thing I want to do, and I'll shut my mouth because it's in my meeting by any means, but I want to thank all of y'all for being here. I talked to Scott and the council as well, and I know from comments made, things heard, things done, council voted a while back for you guys to meet every month on a regular basis. It has to do with helping Scott in his job and some of that layout that goes along with that. It's important. I appreciate it. Hopefully it'll keep your interest, and hopefully we can keep you here doing this wonderful job that you do. So I just want to say thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
We probably will have a draft definition for single-family residence ready by the time for your next meeting to at least look at. That's what we're working on that today. So I may have that ready for you by whenever our meeting is in December. I think it's 17th or something like that.
So,
Yeah.
And we're going
I think
to, pretty soon,
I know with today's economy, multi-generation homes are more and more, and stuff like that is going to be very prevalent, because there's a lot of people who can't afford to retire and so they're sharing it with their kids and their grandkids, and it's more and more, you hear more.
well, and hopefully we're going to have, when we finally get this interlocal agreement worked out with Parker, that's going to help y'all, council, and Scott any of the ordinances, any of the things, changes you make, anything like that, we should be able to have a little more teeth into it to make sure that it's followed. So those guidelines just don't go into somewhere where we can't do anything as we've had in the past years. And so hopefully it looks really, really positive right now. It's slow because it's government, but I hope to have it up and running at least by, I was hoping in December, at latest January.
What's
So,
that?
The court.
Oh.
I'd love to get it December, but that's just something, another arm of the city that when you guys make these changes, these visionary changes, just know that I'm working over here real hard to get the backing that whatever you do, we're gonna be able to enforce or administer whatever it is you guys choose to change. And so that's something that I'm trying to work on over here. So, and with the county judge as well today, I started a conversation there. So hopefully some of those county properties adjacent to us that are unsightly, I did figure out how that gets sightly. We'll see if I can make that happen. So we're working on it.
Any other comments, questions?
No, I don't think we can put too much on our plate, but I think
Yeah,
there will be enough, and then we'll have to fill it again,
Okay.
which probably won't be a problem. But, all right. So now I think we're
A
done.
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, third,
Aye.
fourth, and fifth?
Aye.
Okay.